I have a museum of memories, where I cannot help but drift away into this expansive frontier of past thoughts and experiences, into another space and time. There is a magical quality to these memories that often play in my head as movies, in which scenes provide a candid peek into a rare time when things were simpler, a time when I was younger and carefree. These movies mostly show moments of togetherness, friends having wholesome fun in a reality void of any responsibilities or deadlines. Most of them happened overseas too, in the last couple of years or so, yet their recency is only betrayed by the appearance of modern technology, making it seem as though they happened a lifetime ago. A few memories, like the ones of my trip to a slum in Phnom Penh, stand out. 4 years ago, I was on a volunteer mission with some friends. The slum children welcomed us with open arms, not out of obligated hospitality, but because our presence marked the arrival of humanitarian aid. A little boy appears most often. Here he smiles at the camera. He does that a lot. He fist bumps me repeatedly. Here he attends an educational program by an NGO with his brothers. The children raise their hands for food, and he follows suit, though he's a tad late. I wonder how he and his brothers are doing. He's probably 9 or 10 today. Are they still in the slums, waiting around for humanitarian aid? I hope they're doing alright. Another nostalgia-filled experience was my time in Thailand 2 years ago. We had road trips, mingled with elephants, and did the typical touristy stuff. The beach, where the water shimmered under the golden hour sun, served as the picturesque backdrop for our crazy antics. They say the worst decisions make for the best stories. I recall the time when we entered an unexplored watery cavern that deviated from our designated route. We found ourselves cornered by the rocks and were trapped by the rising tide. It was an undiscovered location, and none of our kayaks could fit through the narrow crevices to call for help. We panicked. Eventually, we clambered onto the sharp rocks and escaped by foot. We made it out. With our lives and kayaks intact, we headed off into the open sea, ready for more adventures derived from stupid decisions. As I reminisce this episode and wonder how I was even convinced to play along, I noticed a tinted layer of rosiness over my perception of past events, despite feeling none of that in the actual moment. There are also more timeless images, like the golden rays penetrating through the windscreen of a Land Rover roaming dusty roads, the flattening of grass under heavy footsteps, and a friend's silhouette against orange hues of waning sunlight. These images are personally iconic, for they evoke a certain feeling of vibe they captured a fleeting moment, now lost to the passage of time. I wonder if these memories would still play in my head decades later, or would they have slipped away, eroded by time and replaced by newer ones more relevant to the age that I would be by then? My guess is no, because nostalgia is possibly the most powerful force in the universe. There are many theories about nostalgia, which is the longing for a return to bygone glory days that now exist only in memory. It is a means for us to find comfort and certainty, a coping mechanism, in this unpredictable and complex world. It provides a vague perception of before, a time when everything was simpler than the present. The power of this before is that it composes through abstract digital or physical images, the language of longing. There is no cure for this longing, there is only treatment, which comes in the form of romanticised escapism. My experiences may not have actually played out in the same way I perceived them to. Still, I harken back to them like a moth to a flame, and am drawn to relieve them. But nostalgia-driven romanticised escapism is not limited to only our past experiences. They apply to our perception of an era when we might not even have been around yet. That explains mankind's fascination with history. The best example of this today is found in video games. The romanticized escapism that video games offer is a time travel to eras when the world, unhindered by science and technology, was bigger and more exciting. They show are heavily romanticized, ignoring the negative aspects of the past in favor of fantasy. But the future and its promises of today's world will never match up to the days of old that were full of bygone adventure, excitement, and simplicity. Romanticized escapism traps time in a bottle and provides a snapshot of life in a golden era. To indulge in it is to put myself in a fabricated past that ignores its negative aspects, to cushion away the harsh edges of present-day reality. It is neither good nor bad. It can heal when called upon, or consume when relied on too much. In moderation, it can be a positive indulgence. Many of us feel that if we could transport ourselves back in time and relive an experience, we would. Who wouldn't want to relish in its warmth and live without a care? The interesting thing is, romanticized escapism requires a resignation that what's gone is irretrievable. What am I to do then, when the comforting lie that I willingly buy into to adapt to the rigors of an unpredictable and shrinking world is gone? The magic no longer works. All I can do is to replay my memories and watch them from a distance, or spend hours in a video game that brings me to foreign lands lost to time, all while bearing a nostalgic longing that cannot be cured. But that's okay, because romanticized escapism gave us a whole other universe to immerse ourselves in. A place filled with fascinating people and creatures. A place rich with adventure through the sounds of children, vehicles, and animals. And at the end of the day, that's what I truly want. To detach from a harsh reality for a while. To enjoy this place of wonder in whatever form it takes.